dollar. Dirt and money, no soul. Had to go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack of flip for my foes. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Keep my money long, get my team strong. Let me run away from my problems.
Yup, what's good, original crew? It's your boy DJ New Kid, your girl.
Sierra Nicole.
Back on the channel, man. We got how The Rock held Hollywood hostage for 10 years straight. Damn, Pat, you ain't have to give us a 24-minute video. God damn. Woo! Hey,
Yeah.
man. With that being said, shout out to Patrick CC, man. But let's go ahead and make sure you check out the links in the description box.
Down below.
You already know where to go if you want to first support. All you have to do is check out down below. Also, if you enjoyed today's video,
Liking it with a thumbs up.
thanks, man. Hey, it's a long one, man. We might as well sit tight. Get you some snacks, whatever. Let's check this one out. Let's see what it's about, y'all. Woo!
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has had a major box office film every single year for the past 2 decades. Nearly all of them were an overwhelming financial success, with the exception of a few. Over the years, The Rock has stamped himself as one of the most successful and beloved entertainers of all time, worth a whopping $320 million. He has Hollywood in a chokehold. And although many people think The Rock is simply just this perfect, family-friendly brand that sold out, left the WWE, and was embraced with open arms into the film world, that couldn't be.
You remember when he first came? I don't know if you remember. I remember because I was really watching wrestling. You know what I'm saying?
I was watching it with my brother.
You know what I'm saying? Rock and all them. You know what I'm saying? I was really into that joint back in the day. That was my shit. You can ask anybody. To
Okay,
really know.
just come on.
But I remember when he left wrestling and was trying to go to Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
I remember people really didn't
gravitate
to it. They really didn't want to accept the fact that a wrestler was now trying to be an actor.
Yeah.
And they was like, no, that can never happen. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
He's not gonna be successful. I believe he's successful. Batista's successful. John Cena be cringe when he and shit though. But I think in Stone Cold, I remember seeing him before and something, and he was a little cringe. Goldberg has been in stuff, cringe. But I think him and Batista kind of has the most, because the latest movie we saw with Batista in was when they went to the cabin.
Oh yeah.
And I think he did a real good. I think he really did a real good job in that.
He did. Yeah.
But The Rock, you know what I'm saying, had a successful career. Surprisingly, you know what I'm saying, especially when he came out, nobody expected it.
Left the WWE and was embraced with open arms into the film world, that couldn't be further from the truth. Every single time he entered a new industry, he was rejected and had to prove himself. And with his back against the wall, he formulated a plan. That plan would be the catalyst to him absolutely dominating Hollywood for the past 10 years. Stay hydrated. Many of you got your first introduction to The Rock through the WWE. Even though he never saw himself pursuing this career, Dwayne Johnson was quite literally born to be a wrestler. His father, Wade Douglas Bowles, was a former professional wrestler who wrestled under the ring name Rocky Johnson. Through the late 60s to mid-70s, he was a major star in California. Rocky wrestled with the WWF in the 1980s, where he and his partner Tony Atlas were the first black tag team champions in WWE history. But it wasn't just his father who has wrestling roots. The Rock's mother, Atta, was adopted into the most iconic Samoan wrestling family of all time, the Anoa'i family. Her father is wrestler High Chief Peter Maivia, and his wife Leah is one of wrestling's first female promoters, which makes The Rock related, through marriage of course, to the Wild Samoans, Yokozuna, Rikishi, Umaga, and Roman Reigns. It seemed like his destiny was written for him the moment he was born.
Ain't no Roman Reigns. I remember all of these, though. Rikishi was my dog, bro, back in the day. But Rikishi used to do the whole ass in the face. I'd be like, bro, I didn't know his ass stanky, bro.
Yeah, I remember. Yes.
Through marriage of course, to the Wild Samoans, Yokozuna, Rikishi, Umaga, and Roman Reigns. It seemed like his destiny was written for him the moment he was born. However, The Rock did not want to be a wrestler. Growing up, Johnson moved around a lot. He briefly spent his childhood in Auckland, New Zealand, then he moved to Charlotte, North Carolina briefly, then to Hamden, Connecticut, where he attended elementary and middle school. When he was 12, they moved to Hawaii, where his mom's family lived. That's when it got rough, he says. His dad worked less, which sent them into poverty and led to fights with the family. He saw from a very young age how financially unstable a wrestling career would be. Frustrated with being poor, He started stealing, then getting arrested. He began getting into fights with kids at school and turning into an angry kid. As a 13-year-old child, he was lost and lacking guidance. So the family relocated again to Nashville, Tennessee before settling in Pennsylvania. Dwayne attended Freedom High School in Bethlehem Township in the Lehigh Valley. Freedom was his 4th high school in 3 years in 3 different states. Johnson found himself outside the principal's office at each school, frequently encountering conflict and participating in petty crime. Before the age of 17, he was arrested multiple times for fighting, theft, and check fraud. His life was on a fast track to nowhere, until one teacher would change his life. After settling an argument with Jody Quick, the school's football coach, he asked,
Look at his damn shoulders. Like, God damn. He was, I ain't gonna lie, he was gifted with a frame, though. Shit, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
But some of this stuff I already knew, because you remember I used to watch the Rock show.
From you watching this show.
oh, for real?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so you used to over-listen. You never sat down and watched it with me.
I probably was on my phone or something, but I was paying attention.
But,
like some of the stuff, I was like, I kind of remember that from.
And I stopped watching it because I think it's just some kind of ways the season stopped coming out.
Yeah.
And I was just like, bro, what happened to the? And I was watching it faithfully. I was like tuned in, but hey.
Dwayne to play football for Liberty. On the football field, Johnson was given the structure and discipline his life otherwise lacked. Quick became the strong male figure Dwayne needed since his father, Rocky, was usually away working. As a 6'4", 230-pound junior, Johnson wreaked havoc from the defensive line. He fell in love with the game. It gave his life purpose. Coach Quick sat him down and said, "Listen, your family doesn't have any money, your grades are average. If you're going to get out of this town and make a different life for yourself, football is the vehicle." Dwayne's mentality did a 180, from being a rebellious criminal to a fully focused and determined young man obsessed with making it. He became a 3-sport athlete: football, wrestling, and track and field. Liberty High School competed in the Eastern Pennsylvania Conference, in which the wrestling programs have been ranked best in the nation by Win Magazine, and have been described as among the nation's best in the sport for nearly 3 decades. And despite his wrestling talents, football was where his heart was. Dwayne had only played for 2 years, but he drew the attention of NCAA Division I collegiate programs. College football recruiters ranked him among the nation's top 10 high school defensive tackles. He received offers from Penn State, UCLA, Clemson, Florida State, and dozens of other top programs, but he eventually accepted a full athletic scholarship from the University of Miami, whose football program was then one of the best in the nation. In 1990, he made an amazing first impression to the Miami coaches. He was fast, he was strong, and he worked harder than anyone. But before he got to play his first game, he suffered a shoulder injury, which made the coaches shift their focus from Dwayne to Warren Sapp, who would go on to be an NFL Hall of Famer. Over the years, he had 4 knee surgeries and lived in the shadow.
Ain't that some bullshit, dog?
Yeah.
Like, you could have had this amazing career, but because of an injury, now, you know what I'm saying?
In a different career field.
But let me say this. If you look at who's probably the most successful, I think even Warren Sapp would say The Rock has had a way more successful career-wise, even though, you know what I'm saying, we both wanted to go into the football profession. Mm-hmm. With that, The Rock is probably I'm sure he would say became out way more successful than I was. So sometimes it's a blessing and a curse.
On to be an NFL Hall of Famer. Over the years, he had 4 knee surgeries and lived in the shadow of Sapp. He ended his Miami career with 78 tackles and 4 sacks. No NFL coaches wanted to take a chance on him. However, the Calgary Stampeders in the Canadian Football League gave him a shot. He was making $250 Canadian per week, which is basically equal to minimum wage, but it didn't last long. Just 2 months after being signed to the practice roster, he was cut. He returned home to Tampa in 1995 with $7 in his pocket and no future. Dwayne really thought the NFL was going to be his career, and he fell into a deep depression when he realized his dreams were not going to come to fruition. The only backup plan was wrestling. However, the instability of finances and constant traveling destroyed their family and his childhood. His father did not want Dwayne to go down that path, but Dwayne had run out of options, and eventually his father gave in and decided to train him. In 1996, 17th, 1996, Madison Square Garden, the Survivor Series, he made his WWF debut as Rocky Maivia, combining his father and grandfather's ring names. Nicknamed the Blue Chipper, Johnson was hyped as WWF's first third-generation wrestler and was pushed heavily despite his wrestling inexperience. In an 8-man elimination tag match, Rocky secured
Yeah, that's Goldust. You remember Goldust? You remember him?
victory. 3 months later, he won the company's Intercontinental Championship and wrestled his first WrestleMania match the following month. However, fans did not accept him with open arms.
Rocky sucks! Rocky sucks!
As always.
WWF fans became increasingly hostile towards Maivia, with chants of "Die Rocky Die" being heard during his matches. As many of you know, wrestling is scripted, and the outcomes are predetermined. It's like a live-action reality show. But one thing that is not fake about wrestling is the fan engagement. Wrestlers get their fan base from their image or personality displayed on the microphone. If the fans do not like you, and the show's writers can't find a way for you to get on their good side, you will lose your job. Rocky Maivia was a clean-cut, happy-go-lucky good guy who wasn't resonating with the audience. After losing his Intercontinental Championship and suffering a legitimate knee injury, Johnson disappeared from television for months. But he wasn't going to let the WWF writers ruin his chances of him being a star. It was time for a rebrand. In August 1997, he returned, but with a noticeably more aggressive demeanor, lashing out at the audience whenever they booed him. He deaded the Rocky Maivia name and referred to himself in the third person as The Rock. He had officially turned heel, which is a wrestling term for a wrestler portraying a villain or acting as an antagonist. Now portraying a self-absorbed narcissist, The Rock regularly insulted the audience, fellow wrestlers, and interviewers whenever he could. The character worked because it came naturally to him, and it didn't take long for the audience to start warming up to his newfound persona. He didn't know it then, but he was already preparing himself for Hollywood. From 1997 to 2002, The Rock became a phenomenon, dubbed the People's Champion. He was debatably the most beloved wrestler in the industry.
Bring your Rudy Poo candy asses! Just bring it!
Oh my God!
If you smell what the Rock
He's cooking. Hey,
Bruh.
that's my bruh. When I say bruh, I'm just. No.
You said what?
No. But hey, bro.
I wouldn't even.
But bro, wrestling used to be my shit. I like when I say I got to a certain age, I never touched it back on. What?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, what you finna say?
No, I'm about to say nothing.
You finna press start.
No, go ahead.
Press play.
No, I was gonna let you tell your story.
No, I'm just finna say I ain't watching it in so long, bro. Like after a while, I just fell from it because it just became just so like gimmicky.
I think I stopped watching wrestling with as my brother started getting older and older.
He stopped watching
it so much because it was that thing that we just did together. We used to sit on the couch and just watch it, you know. So as he got older, he wants to be out with his friends and stuff. I kind of fell off from watching it too.
Because I followed WCW and WWE, and then when they ended up merging, because you know what I'm saying, financial.
Yeah.
Like, I kept up with all that. I knew about everything. You know what I'm saying. It was the NWA, NWO, Wolfpack thing. You know what I'm saying. Kevin Nash and all. Like, I had every wrestleman that. You know what I'm saying? Like I used to have like 60 wrestlemen. My mom threw all of them away, or she still got. No, she threw all of them away.
That's messed up.
She threw all of them away.
You're not undisputed champion, so shut up, bitch!
From the single eyebrow raise, to his numerous catchphrases, to his over-exaggerated mannerisms, The Rock established himself as the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. At this point in his career, The Rock had surpassed the legacy of anyone in his heritage, having become one of the most decorated champions in WWE history. Also in the early 2000s, wrestling was at its peak in average viewership and ratings. The Rock being the most charismatic and marketable wrestler at the most popular time in wrestling history was a perfect storm that would change his life forever. He figured the transition from wrestling to acting wouldn't be that hard. After all, wrestling is acting, and most of the time it's live, so you only get one take. He began dabbling in TV with cameos on That 70s Show, Star Trek Voyager, and Saturday Night Live. In fact, after his SNL debut, one of the most respected film critics of all time, Roger Ebert, said this.
Have you met The Rock before? This guy is going to be a major movie star. He should get out of wrestling as soon as possible.
That prediction couldn't have been more true. In 2001, Dwayne made his first feature film debut in The Mummy Returns, which grossed roughly $435 million at the box office. Despite only having 15 minutes of screen time, Johnson was paid $5.5 million for his portrayal of the Scorpion King. This
I ain't gonna lie, you give me that much money on my first, like,
For 15 minutes?
For 15 minutes? Hell yeah.
I'm
done with wrestling.
Johnson was paid $5.5 million for his portrayal of the Scorpion King. This salary earned him an entry into the Guinness Book of World Records as the highest payment for an untested actor. This just goes to show you how big of a superstar he was and how much his brand was worth. He reprised his role as the Scorpion King in the prequel the following year, earning over $180 million at the box office. When he tried to do a post-show speech, the crowd within the stadium booed him. This put a sour taste in his mouth, and The Rock would disappear from wrestling for another year. To make matters worse, his 2003 film The Rundown was considered a flop, since the film did not profit. This left him in limbo, feeling unsure of which career to pursue. His heart was still in wrestling, but he needed a rebrand for the second time, and that's exactly what he was going to do. In 2003, The Rock turned heel again and started a new persona, dubbed Hollywood Rock. With a new look and a shaved head, his new persona as a snobby Hollywood jock who looks down on the wrestling community earned him a lot of haters, but you could tell he was having fun and wasn't afraid to lean even harder into this character. He eventually won over the audience because of his charisma and hilarious jokes. Plus, he was still a legend at this point, so it was hard to pretend to hate him for much longer. Many wrestling fans think The Rock is at his best when he is in his Attitude Era. Sadly for them, this was all very short-lived. The Rock's contract with the WWE ended in 2004, and he quietly retired without making a big announcement. The 32-year-old knew putting his body on the line would ultimately catch up to him. This decision would allow him to officially start his full-time Hollywood acting career. Even though Dwayne was a superstar, he struggled to find success early on as an actor. From 2004 to 2006, he starred in Walking Tall, which was received well by fans but hated by critics. He had some throwaway roles like the crime comedy Be Cool and the film adaptation of the popular video game Doom, which failed to break even financially. However, the comedy thriller Southland Tales and Gridiron Gang performed a little bit better financially, but
I think Gridiron Gang really worked well for him because of the football narrative of it, and that was his passion. That's his number one passion, and it threw him into like a major role, like, you know what I'm saying. And I think still to this day, 88, like a lot of people with fuck with Gridiron. I watched it not too long ago back again. You know what I'm saying? I think it was one of his best breakout movies, though.
However, the comedy thriller Southland Tales and Gridiron Gang performed a little bit better financially, but none of these films indicated that The Rock had a promising career ahead of him. Realizing his career was looking shaky, he decided to change his persona for the third time. Now he would take on the role as the Gentle Giant. He slimmed down his appearance, which, let's be honest, even a slim version of The Rock is still a 200+ pound beast. But he started seeing box office success when he appeared in more kid-friendly films like Walt Disney's The Game Plan and Race to Witch Mountain, along with Get Smart and The Tooth Fairy, all of which made over $100 million at the box office. The only problem with these movies is that he wasn't really acting. The Rock is actually the Tooth Fairy. But seriously, The Rock is known in real life as being a really nice guy, very friendly, and supportive. So in these movies, he's just being casted as himself. Plus, he really wanted to be in action movies, since, he's The Rock. After 3 family films in a row, he was faced with yet another problem of boxing himself into a genre that would be hard for him to escape from. So he called a meeting with his agents and developed a vision to take Hollywood hostage. He wanted to be Will Smith, but different and bigger. I don't know what that means, he said, but I can see it, and I have these. He held up his hands, and I need everybody to see it with me. His agents had no idea what he was talking about, so The Rock fired them and got a new team. The plan was to
I get it, because I do see what he meant by that. I want to be, because you got to think of Will Smith run. Next, beside that, I do look at The Rock. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing that The Rock hasn't done that Will did, and I don't see him being able to do it for real, is doing a biopic. Like, think about it. I think really Ali solidified Will Smith's career. Like, boom. Same way when Denzel played Malcolm X. Boom. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I think sometimes doing those biopics, and they, like, even Jamie Foxx doing Ray was like a boom. But I don't see, like, what could The Rock do because he's such a masculine man. And most of the people that you play are not of that physique.
Yeah.
Does he lose his muscle mass to slim down and becomes...
Yeah, I feel
you get what I'm saying? But I just can't see him doing a biopic. So maybe some way they find a way for him to do it. But right now, I don't see it. But I know how people felt about his latest movie. And I'm just like, hey, you know.
Had no idea what he was talking about, so The Rock fired them and got a new team. The plan was to avoid family-friendly films for a while. This plan was not about making money. It was about grabbing Hollywood by the balls and making it his. So he decided to change his image and kickstart his 4th time reinventing himself. He shaved his head bald for good, then put on a lot of muscle mass and turned into a more rugged warrior, rather than his previous handsome, chiseled model look. He pursued more action films. The Other Guys was a buddy comedy that saw success and was a step in the right direction, but the most important role of his whole career up until this point was Faster. This was the first time he had a lead role in an action film after Doom flopped. Faster was an interesting film. The Rock was a criminal seeking vengeance. He was cold-blooded and didn't have much dialogue in the whole film. It didn't perform that well financially, but it was a transition point for him, because he was about to get the role that would kickstart his Hollywood takeover. Fast 5, 2011. Dwayne entered the Fast and Furious franchise as Luke Hobbs. Hobbs is a diplomatic security service agent who enters the movie investigating the deaths of 3 DEA agents. But his form of interrogating a criminal is by throwing them around the room and beating the snot out of them until they talk. The Fast franchise was already super successful at this point, and this one was their peak so far, $640 million in the global box office. Plus, this film is widely regarded by fans as the best out of the dozen. And as many of you know, landing a permanent role in an action film franchise as big as this is basically like hitting the Hollywood lottery. You become known and loved all around the world and could easily have a stable career. This was exactly what The Rock needed to kick his career into overdrive. From 2012 to 2016, Dwayne had to prove to the world that he was here to stay, and he did just that. He had a brief return to wrestling to host WrestleMania 30 and have an iconic title match against John Cena. It was his first bout in over 7 years. He got an offer to perform in front of 85,000 people live, and he couldn't refuse. But he never had any intentions on staying long term. In that same year, 2013, he did 5 movies. Snitch, which some consider to be his most underrated acting performance, G.I. Joe Retaliation, Empire State, Pain and Gain, Fast and Furious 6. By the end of 2013, Forbes named Johnson the top grossing actor, with his films collectively bringing in $1.3 billion worldwide. In 2014, he did Hercules. In 2015, he did Furious 7 and San Andreas. In 2016, Central Intelligence. The Rock was getting a lead role in a major action film each year. His fame was at an all-time high, and he successfully rebranded himself as the rugged action star that's also sensitive that he knew he deserved to be. But this was only the beginning. The real takeover was about to begin when he started his production company, $7 Productions. But before I get into that, there's something very important to consider.
Did you know he had his own production company?
I did not.
That is like brand new knowledge for me. I never knew that.
For some reason, that kind of just, yeah.
But I do feel like he capitalized. Like, let's be real, not all his films was a hit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it seemed like out of every 3 or 4, there go to one.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that is what you have to do in any career.
Yeah.
It's like you got to keep pushing it out there. You do a couple, they're gonna flop.
Especially when you're trying to get taken serious and people like really,
Even in music, even in the music career, a lot of people think every song they put out is gonna be a hit. Mm-hmm. No, some of them gonna be throwaways, bro. It's just gonna be that. But you got to keep putting it out there because if you don't, you're never gonna find that one that's gonna stick with the people.
Span of what was now 15 years in Hollywood, Dwayne has created a reputation for being a hardworking and reliable employee. In a space where actors notoriously show up late to set, or come in intoxicated and hungover, or just generally act like divas, Dwayne has managed to stay focused and complete the task at hand, showing up to work on time while getting along with fellow cast members and crew. He will remember everybody's name, from craft services to the camera operators. The Rock is every producer and director's dream employee. Rampage director Brad Payton, who has directed directed Johnson 3 times now, broke down exactly why every filmmaker should have him on their team. Dwayne is one of those guys where you present the challenge and he is going to succeed come hell or high water. When I need Dwayne to do something that's difficult, it's the equivalent of being able to be, you see that wall? I need you to run through that wall. And he's like, that wall? And I'm like, yeah, that wall. And he's like, f that wall. And I'm like, all right, roll camera. Here we go. Directors will tell him to redo a line 15 times and he just does it. No questions, no fights. He's excited to work and brings good energy around him. This is a huge reason why he gets casted for so many films. The trade-off is that he basically has to play the same character in every film, but that's exactly what he wants. No one's going to see me play a borderline psychopath suffering from depression, he says. My problem is I have a relationship with an audience around the world. For years I've built a trust with them that they're going to come to my movies and feel good. So every once in a while you have to drop this card, which is, you're going to have to find another actor. We need to figure something out. Otherwise, I'm not going to do the movie. Although The Rock is extremely limited in the roles he will play, he's consistent and he sticks to his strengths, which is respectable. So when you combine his work ethic, extreme likability, lack of problematic qualities, and a well-oiled machine of people behind him, what you get is the biggest Hollywood takeover of all time. Seven Bucks Productions is the name of his film studio that was founded in 2012 but really kicked into gear around 2016 and 2017. His production studio will create the vision for a film that has The Rock as the lead role. Since they know his strengths and weaknesses as an actor, they can write the scripts and produce the scenes in a way that benefits him the most, which usually leads to reboots of old movies or using other recognizable brands. These movies are basically safe investments. Plus, he doesn't have to audition for the role since it's literally written for him, which saves a lot of time. From there, they will partner with another production studio, such as Paramount Pictures, Columbia Pictures, New Line Cinema, DC, Disney, or any smaller company to produce the films. Since they are partnering, that means Dwayne has ownership in the films he's making. It's also worth mentioning that likely means he is investing his own money into the films as well, risking tens of millions of dollars. Where most actors are likely only getting a salary, Dwayne is getting royalties for a lifetime. Plus, he's building up the value of his company. Similar to what Rob Dyrdek did, he produced Ridiculousness through his own company for 10 years, then sold it for $200 million. So while The Rock is on set filming a movie, his team already knows exactly how long it's going to take and will be ready for him to film the next movie as soon as he is done with the current one. For example,
That's smart as hell.
Yeah.
That is motherfucking smart. That's the goal though.
Going to take and will be ready for him to film the next movie as soon as he is done with the current one. For example, in 2017 and 2018 he released these 4 films: Baywatch, Jumanji, Rampage, and Skyscraper. Baywatch began filming in February 2016 all over the USA. 7 months later, in September of 2016, Jumanji began filming in Hawaii. So once The Rock is done with Baywatch, he goes over to Hawaii and begins the next film. Then 7 months after Jumanji, in April of 2017, he goes to Chicago to film Rampage. Then 4 months later, in August of 2017, he goes to Vancouver to film Skyscraper. And also, while he's working on these films, he's doing promo tours and press runs for the previous ones. There is no downtime, there are no auditions, there is no preparation for a new character. The Rock has turned his brand into a machine that uses the same formula in every film and pumps out 2 to 3 movies per year that are generating hundreds of millions of dollars. Meanwhile, during all of this, his team is writing and pitching movies 2 to 5 years in the future, so The Rock never has to have a moment where he is not filming. From 2017 to 2022, they released 14 movies, nearly 3 blockbuster movies per year, and they have dozens more planned for the future. But the most important and life-changing role was his portrayal of DC Comics anti-hero Black Adam. However,
Before we get into, but that could, with all that work, no downtime though, for real, that can be detrimental on someone's health. I know he's like in real good shape health wise, look at the looks of it, but we don't know like with the lack of rest and taking time off, you know.
Maybe he has some type of, strategy.
But that's
or
a
schedule
lot on the
that
body though, you know.
Yeah, I mean, hey.
How long can you keep that up too?
I mean, that's with any job though. Like, but I'm pretty sure you get.
You got PTO though. His PTO is going to the next film.
I mean, but there is. Well, I guess he said with the promo. I guess the downtime will be just like the promo. Like you see.
But he's promoting the movie while filming another movie. So basically, I'm doing double work right now.
Well, it's working.
things kind of ended in a disaster, and many are starting to question if The Rock's ego is starting to self-sabotage. All the way back in 2006, Johnson was initially approached to portray the character Shazam, but he expressed interest in the film's antagonist, Black Adam. By 2014, development for the series finally began when Warner Bros. And DC began planning a slate of superhero films for its shared universe, the DC Extended Universe. That same year, Johnson confirmed his attachment to the film and decided he ultimately wanted to play Black Adam. To reiterate, getting a lead role as a superhero or a villain is probably the most coveted position in an actor's career. DC and Marvel actors will receive praise for the next century for their roles. If you hit big in one of these movies, you are legitimately set for life, so it's obvious why Dwayne wanted it so bad. However, come 2017, Johnson began having issues with the movie's direction. When the first draft of the movie came to us, it was a combination of Black Adam and Shazam, two origin stories in one movie. Literally everyone involved in the production loved the script and were ready to greenlight the movie, besides The Rock. He felt like he would be doing Black Adam a disservice, so he petitioned for Adam to get his own separate film. Warner Bros. Trusted him. They took him out of Shazam and put a Black Adam solo movie in development. This is where chaos ensued. Firstly, Johnson was set to produce the film with members of 7 Bucks Productions along with Beau Flynn and Flynn Picture Co., meaning Johnson had direct control over everything. He used this control to acquire writer Adam Sitzkiel, who co-wrote Johnson's Rampage in 2018. Adam would write the screenplay for Black Adam. Once the script was completed, Johnson recruited director Jaume Collet Serra, who he worked alongside on Jungle Cruise. At this point, Johnson had received the solo project he wanted and hired the team he wanted. All that was left to do was produce the film. However, due to the pandemic and commitments to the film Jumanji and Red Notice, production for Black Adam was delayed, which led to fans being disappointed. Initially, Johnson was first meant to appear as Black Adam in Suicide Squad in 2021, but these plans were abandoned when writer and director Gavin O'Connor left the film in 2018. Filming for Black Adam was completed sometime in mid-22 and was released in October of that year, and some consider it to be a flop. The movie cost about $200 million to produce and was said to have at least a $100 million marketing cost. Sources at Warner Bros. Say the movie will break even at $400 million. With the box office numbers totaling $393 million, it looks like the movie didn't profit. Plus, most of the reception from fans and critics was that it was just okay, average, what they expected, which is on par for what The Rock is known to deliver. But many question if The Rock had not taken full creative control over this movie, if it would have maybe portrayed Black Adam as more of a dark, sinister anti-hero. Maybe The Rock wasn't best for this role and fell short on his promises. Maybe his ego is finally catching up to him. It also doesn't help that he had a public feud with Vin Diesel that made him exit the Fast franchise. During the filming of The Fate and the Furious, the 8th installment of the Fast and Furious franchise, Johnson hinted at trouble behind the scenes. In a now deleted Instagram post, he called out some of his male co-stars, sparking a feud between him and both Tyrese Gibson and Vin Diesel. When the film came out, viewers noticed their scenes were shot in such a way that indicated they may not have been on set at the same time, which was true. They were never on set together. Dwayne says their beef came down to a disagreement about professionalism. Vin and I had a few discussions, including an important face-to-face in my trailer, he says, and what I came to realize is that we have a fundamental difference in philosophies on how we approach movie making and collaborating. That information didn't really help fans understand what was happening. Diesel later tried to make amends and reintroduce Johnson to the Fast and Furious franchise. However, Dwayne, although he regrets making that initial Instagram post, adamantly declined the offer and cemented that his time with the franchise was over. This has led many to believe that The Rock is starting to walk away from any project where he doesn't call all of the shots.
And that's the thing, because you're attached to the franchise, but I ain't gonna hold you. That's Vin Diesel franchise. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Like, especially since what's his name passed. Can't think of the name right now. But ever since he passed, that's his. You know what I'm saying? The white guy.
Paul?
Yeah, Paul Walker. Yeah. Ever since he passed, because you got to remember, Fast and the Furious started with Vin Diesel, Paul Walker. Those were the two leading people. You know what I'm saying? The main focus. Each film, you have to have Vin Diesel in it, no matter what. That is his franchise. Yeah. You take him away from it, it's not Fast and Furious anymore.
Yeah.
The Rock, you can take him away from it,
and it'll still be. Yeah.
It'll still be Fast and the Furious. Just because you may want creative control, you came into something that was already established.
Yeah.
You can never take control of that.
True.
Sometimes you got to learn. Even though I might be the bigger star, I have to play. Sometimes
Learn how to take a back seat.
Yeah, that would make you a better star.
Many to believe that The Rock is starting to walk away from any project where he doesn't call all of the shots. At the same time, maybe he does deserve to call the shots. In just 5 years, 7 Bucks Productions has generated $3.3 billion in worldwide box office revenue. Dwayne Johnson is determined to outwork anyone who wants to compete with him. None of this success was handed to him. He was not lucky. He came from nothing and had been rejected and failed in every single industry he started in. And instead of wallowing in his sadness, he did the opposite. He reshaped and remodeled his image multiple times, developed an incredible work ethic, brings positive energy to everyone around him, and stays out of controversy. Sure, he doesn't test himself creatively, but he sticks to what he's good at and what his fans expect from him. Now at 50 years old, he has created a $300 million machine that will continue to work in his favor for years to come. And he built it all with his own 2 hands.
I'll let you go.
I'm about to say nothing.
You sure?
Yeah.
Sure. Now, what I'll say is, eventually, I'll say in about 5 more years, they're gonna reinvent him again. I do believe it's coming up on that time, because you got to pay attention to how his career has always been. Mm-hmm. Every time something is working, once he feels as though it's time to shift a little bit because it's not working as much, they change. Mm-hmm. He go for a little hiatus and pop back on the scene. I also think, you know what I'm saying, I don't know why they haven't done it, but I do believe he can be in like a romantic comedy type style movie. Mm-hmm. But is that too far off from the brand that y'all want to have? I think it's good to have a mixture.
Well, if you still trying to keep that like nice guy, you know,
you can still do that and still do this.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Denzel did it.
Right.
Denzel was Training Day.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So if you still trying to, I think that'll work.
But you know what I'm saying? Denzel was Training Day. Denzel also know how to play. You know what I'm saying? Like then Will Smith, you have to be able to expand. To be a successful, great actor, you got to know how to tap into multiple different things. Yeah. You can't just run off of this. I'm the big macho man.
Stay in this one box. Yeah.
And I think like with Bautista, I think he can go into that. Mm-hmm. But not to compare to each other, just to feel that they both was in. But I feel as though The Rock could, because you're gonna get older. How many, like, you already in your 50s. Yeah. You can't keep on doing live action films.
So he's 50, yeah. So you said 5 years, would be 55?
Yeah.
55.
So I think going into possibly slimming down, instead of trying to be so muscular, be more lean with it, do those romantic comedy movies. And eventually you can, because you still have such a nice image, you can still go back into those family box office films. Because that pays. Ask Ice Cube. Yeah. Him going into Ice Cube went into the family films. It paid him a lot. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with it. Just don't get tight-hold into Disney. Please don't get tight-hold. They hold people hostage. But there's nothing wrong with going into like doing family films and doing stuff that doesn't just have to be all about like full hard woo, like, you know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
But you still could do that. I think just
here and there, but just kind of, like I said, get outside of that box. You want to be like what my fans expect. Like they expect this certain type of, you know,
I would like another
role from me.
I would like another role with him with like Gridiron Gang. Yeah, being that motivational guy, you know what I'm saying? That I come from the bottom, because you can associate yourself with that. You come from nothing. So that's in you. I feel like you can do another Gridiron Gang type movie. But the reason why I say I feel like he can be a romantic comedy, what's the one that at the very end, it was a Tyler Perry movie, he became Janet Jackson's like love interest. After dude died in a car wreck, she walked up on him. He was outside. I can't think of what it is. And I said, damn, look at The Rock. But when he popped up, I was like, that could be a role for him because he already comes off as the like suave, high charisma guy, and I'm like he could be like this rich guy.
Why Did I Get Married?
I think
is that it
or two. Why did I get married too?
Something like that. One of them. I don't know.
I feel like he can do something like that, or I can see him. Think about it, like his bigness, body structure.
Yeah.
I feel like he can play in a TV series like how Amari Hardwick played as Ghost. I can see The Rock being,
like that.
But I think they'll be too far, like evil looking for him because everybody keeps
the
seeing
image that he's wanting to keep.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But I think you can be versatile with that.
And I mean, yeah, but I would kind of understand because like people viewing.
Like
they forget that this is acting. Yeah, and they be like, you know what I'm saying?
You're right.
And in real life, they be like, oh, it's
acting. But I would love to see him go back into, still do what you're doing now, but do a more impactful film like something, not exactly like, but somewhat in that same role that you played in Gridiron Gang. Yeah. And then tap back into the family, because right now your career is about the family experience. Right. All the films you do are family impacted. So I feel like you could still do a family film movie, just something different.
Yeah.
You don't have to do the gimmicky things, gimmicky movies with Kevin Hart anymore. But I feel like you can just make the umbrella go out a little bit more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But hey, man, make sure y'all spam us up. Y'all let us know y'all thoughts. Let us know y'all opinions about it in the comment section down below, man. But as always, y'all know how it goes. I do go by the name DJ the Kid. This is
Had to go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack of flip for my folks. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar.